I absolutely hate this international break. Like, you wait months for football to come back, and then you're 3 weeks in and then you lose it again. But I did notice a few things over the international break that I think a few people have kind of missed, or they're just not kind of seeing potentially going forward. So I could be wrong on them, but I'll get into them. So before we get into the things that I think people might be missing, the things that I've noticed, I just kind of, on the topic of international breaks, I just kind of want to put out there, just as an idea, I don't understand why we don't just take the 2 international breaks, the one that we have obviously that we've just had, and then the one that we have again in like a month. Why don't we just take both of them, push them right forward towards the start of the season? So we push the season back like 2 weeks, and then that way the whole transfer window and stuff isn't going on during the first few games of the Premier League season, and then we don't have absolute pricks going on strike because they're involved in transfers and stuff, and then, you know, it's not, the transfer window then isn't affecting results on the pitch because the transfer window is going on whilst games are still going on. Anyway, just a thought. Let me know in the comments what you think about that, because that to me makes a lot of sense, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. But anyway, yeah, at least international breaks aren't for Newcastle fans what they once were, and at least we actually get to see players play now. At least, you know, we've got a few players playing for England now, Brazil, Italy, Sweden, Germany, like there's just loads of them now. But at least there's something as Newcastle fans to be kind of looking out for, but it's just not club football, is it? Like, it's just not the same. But anyway, there's a few things that I kind of noticed over that international break that I think say something potentially about one of our best players. And then also I think people might be misreading things a little bit about how we might set up at Wolves, but I'll get into that. But before we get into that, I need to ask, if you haven't already, please hit like on the video. Please also, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe on the channel. We've got plenty of great content coming up. We've got Barcelona midweek, one of the biggest games of the season, so you don't want to miss out on that. And then also, we've also had a big update on the channel. The channel has hit another major milestone, and that is that we have received our first sponsorship deal. And honestly, I'm genuinely actually buzzing about who this sponsorship deal has come from, because one of my main worries surrounding like the idea of potential sponsorship deals, and like my first one, I was really worried that it might come from like one of them like pay to win apps or something, where like I didn't want to push that out to you. So I was actually, my whole plan was always to turn that down, and I wanted to take deals from something that I genuinely thought you guys might actually be interested in, you know, benefit from. But fortunately, the company that actually reached out isn't a pay to win app, and it's one that I think you guys are actually really going to love. It's a company called footballprizes.co.uk. They run the biggest football giveaway competitions in the country, and they've now started doing Newcastle United competitions. So for this month, the Newcastle giveaway is a signed Bruno shirt with a TV built into the frame that plays like his highlights and stuff like that. And each ticket to enter this raffle is only 39p. I had to go myself. I just whacked like 10 in the basket, so it's like £3.90, the cost of like the coffee, really. And as cool as that Bruno shirt is, that's not the best part. The best part is that they also have 147 instant win prizes from like loads of other signed memorabilia. You can see it all in this picture, you know, cash prizes, like there's loads of things that you can win there and then. So like, instead of you just buying a raffle ticket, wait until the end of the month to see if, you know, you might have won something, you usually probably forget about it by the time it comes around. Like, you can actually buy the raffle ticket there and then and see straight away if you've won one of these instant win prizes. Like, it'll pop up as a little gold thing next to your ticket, and you will literally win something potentially there and then. And then also on top of that, you are also supporting me, supporting the channel. So if you go to the link in the description, get a few tickets, get yourself in with a chance to win signed Bruno shirt or one of these 147 instant wins from the picture that you can see. And then if anyone does win anything really cool from, you know, the instant wins, or if anyone does win like the Bruno shirt at the end of the month, if anyone wins anything from this, like, please let me know in the comments, because I do really want to see you guys kind of like benefiting from, you know, the deals that I get with the channel as well. So yeah, please let me know in the comments if you guys do win something, because I just think that'll be really cool. So yeah, anyway, on with the video. So what do I think a lot of fans are potentially missing about how we could line up at the weekend? I think what I've kind of seen a lot of is a lot of people seem to be under the impression that it'll definitely be Wissa that starts over the weekend and not Woltemade. And obviously let me know in the comments what you think, but I've seen a lot of people talking as if, you know, they potentially think that we might not see Woltemade this weekend, and that like the kind of idea is, and I don't, obviously I completely understand why, but the idea is that, you know, Eddie Howe generally takes a while to like bed people in from other leagues, and it might take a while for him to be bedded into the team, and we might not see him, you know, much for a few weeks. But when I look at it, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think if you look at like kind of the scenario around, you know, Wissa and Woltemade, like I think Woltemade has been playing consistently all season so far, whereas Wissa, like Isak, was on strike. He wasn't playing. He won't be to top match fitness and match sharpness. Like, I know obviously he did very well playing for DR Congo over the international break, but whether or not he's at the match sharpness and at the like match fitness level to be able to play for, you know, an Eddie Howe team, like obviously as we know, like Gordon struggled at the start when he first came in, like to match the level of intensity that Eddie Howe demands, I don't know how well you can expect Wissa to be at that level right now when he hasn't been playing. Whereas Woltemade, on the other hand, has been consistently playing the whole time. I also think the other thing we need to take into account is that obviously this Wolves game, like Wolves haven't been on particularly great form. People are potentially putting them down for like relegation. I think obviously the season looks very, very exciting in the sense that a couple of the promoted teams have actually come up and actually look competitive this year. So there could be the potential of, you know, like Wolves, maybe West Ham as another one, like they could genuinely go down this season. It's not that I want to see them go down as such, but it's that I want to see, you know, a bit of a change in just the promoted teams just like yo-yoing up and down constantly. Like I think it's just good for football, good for the league in general to see, you know, a bit of change in that. And yeah, Wolves are one of the main ones that people are kind of tipping for like potential for going down. So with that said, and then knowing that midweek we have one of the biggest games of our season, like I'm not saying that the players, you know, will be just already focused on the Barcelona game and not focusing on the Wolves game. Like obviously we have to get the Wolves game out of the way, make sure we get that one. But I do think there will be an element of trying to prepare the team for the Barcelona game using the Wolves game. And I think there is probably a large possibility that we will see both strikers just to get them as ready as possible for the Barcelona game on Thursday. And I think obviously what I've just mentioned about Wolves, with them obviously being like, you know, potential relegation candidates, hopefully now that we actually have strikers and are potentially able to actually score goals, hopefully we might be able to go in at halftime, maybe like 2-0 up, and then potentially swap the striker. So we might, you know, we might start with Wissa, you know, go in 2-0 at halftime and then bring Woltemade on. We might even start with both of them. We could potentially drop Gordon, Woltemade can go out on the left, Wissa down the centre. Wissa can also play down the left. I think he's a little bit wasted there. I think one of Wissa's main strengths is his ability to sniff out a chance and then get on the end of that chance. Because if you look at, like, if you watch, like, you know, just watch one of like Wissa's highlight reels, if you look at the positions that he manages to get on the end of chances, like he's almost like Haaland level-esque for him being able to sniff out a chance and get on the end of it. Like, I'm not saying he's as good as Haaland overall as a striker, but like that element of his game, his ability, like kind of striker's instinct and his ability to get on the end of chances, it's top level. And I think obviously to put him out on the left wing would kind of be a little bit wasted, whereas if you put Woltemade out on the left wing, it kind of takes the pressure off on him needing to score goals. Because I think like with the price tag that he's come in with, and obviously a load of people saying that he's overpriced and stuff like that, like if you put him out on the left wing, it's kind of like well, you know, he played left wing. He's not really meant to be scoring goals out on the left wing. Like, obviously, he kind of is meant to be scoring goals on the left wing. Like, that's kind of like a part of the job role of a winger. But, like, you know, he's not sat in that central striker role where it's like that is his sole purpose, is to be scoring goals. Like, you know, he's out there to just kind of like beat men, create chances, stuff like that. And as long as he's, you know, generally has a good game out on the left wing, then it kind of takes that pressure off him having to score. So we could see Woltemade go out on the left wing, you know, Gordon maybe get dropped. And that kind of brings me on to the next thing that I also noticed over the international break with Gordon, and that's obviously, you know, we saw, or even heard, sorry, many a times mentions of Gordon and his kind of drought that he's on at the moment. He's not had a competitive goal or assist since February. And the thing that I kind of noticed there, like I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and maybe I've made 5 here, I'm not too sure, but let me know in the comments what you think of this. But another thing also happened over the international break, and that was obviously, so Isak finally left, and then a lot of our players came out, like Botman, Gordon, like a few others came out and posted things for Isak, like messages for Isak, and I have no kind of problem with them. Like a few fans do, like it is what it is, like I don't really care too much about that. The thing that I kind of noticed though is that in Gordon's, he mentioned how his partnership with Isak was one of the best partnerships he's formed on the pitch, like as a player. And the reason that kind of worries me, and if you look back to sort of when Gordon's form did drop, you know, so like back in February, that is coincidentally around a similar time to when, you know, there are claims that Isak had down tools after the cup final, because obviously Gordon was banned for the cup final, so there was only like a game or two before the cup final where, you know, Isak was still playing and trying, and then basically around the exact same time that Isak either down tools or just, you know, potentially didn't down tools, you know, potentially his form just dropped, whatever, like as that happened, Gordon's form has kind of gone off a cliff as well. And obviously that's not me saying that Gordon is also down tools, but what it's kind of worried me a little bit is that maybe Gordon's game is potentially quite reliable on that partnership with Isak, which obviously really doesn't bode well for the idea of Gordon potentially leaving as well and leaving next summer and going to Liverpool. But let's just hope I'm wrong on that one, okay? Let's just hope. I've put 2 and 2 together and made 5, but there just is a very sort of strong correlation between the timing of the two things of both of them players dropping form. As I said, I don't think Gordon's is a conscious choice in the way that, you know, Isak's could have been, and it's reported that Isak's could have been. Like, I don't think Gordon is down tools as such, but I'm just a little bit worried that he might be potentially reliant on that partnership with Isak, as I said. But on a more positive note, I do think we should be going into a weekend where we should be coming out of it with 3 points. I've looked at kind of all the stats to do with Newcastle, Wolves. Also, you know, like I kind of like past like previous games with Wolves, and Wolves are one of the teams that we are the most strongest against in the league. And that's not just like our sort of record against other teams. That's like actually all Premier League teams. Like, us against Wolves is one of the most one-sided fixtures over the course of like the history of that fixture. Like, there's a number of stats that I read that all bode very well for the weekend, but one of them was like, I think that Wolves have won once at St James's Park in the last like 22 attempts. And it's not as if you look at Wolves' form this season and you think this is the season that they're going to break that kind of record. So yeah, I think we can all be very positive going into this weekend. And then obviously we've got, you know, Champions League midweek, and I'm going to do a much more in-depth preview video for that game, because I don't think there's much I really need to analyze for Newcastle Wolves. I think it's just, you know, it should be a fairly routine win. And I don't mean that as any disrespect to Wolves, but I think most Wolves fans at the moment would probably kind of agree, to be honest. But anyway, as usual, we are going to do a giveaway for this video because it's the, you know, preview for a game to some extent. So same as usual, we're going to have first goal scorer and score prediction in the pinned comment. It's got to be a reply to the pinned comment. All the details will be in the description. But that's all for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.